Ladies and gentlemen, stick around. We've got Ideas by Elliot. Hey, folks, you're listening to Ideas by Elliot. And we're here with Ideas by Elliot. Podcast.
This is the Ideas by Elliot podcast, sponsored by Camera Corner Studios and ReleaseWire. I'm Elliot Christensen, and normally I spend my time working with my clients on their internet projects, websites, marketing, email, all the stuff that they need to get their business found online. This is my chance to take a break and talk in depth with the most interesting people that I know. There are no rules, there's no censor, there are no do-overs. It's raw, unscripted, and never edited.
This is episode number 12, Don Nelson. In this episode, we talk about how this is really Don's show. We talk about corporate culture versus the creative culture. We talk about entrepreneurism, volunteerism, blogging, and of course we get techie. Plus, Don brought some great music tracks from Red Light Saints coming up next.
All right, starting things off with a little Red Light Saints. That's off of their EP, Legend of Jasper Pipestone, and that is On the Pavement. Awesome local band.
And it's Red Light
Saints.
Red Light Saints. Nice. That's a beautiful track. Like, good production. Like, I really love that. So the voice that you heard, that I don't know if he sounds a lot like me or not. Because it's hard to judge that, right, until you hear the final recording. But that is my good friend Don Nelson, and I don't need to ask you to pronounce that,
nope.
like I've had to have everybody else do in the past. So thankfully, you have a good, simple name for me. So why are you here?
Because you asked me. No.
See, he's a religious listener. He should be onto this already. So
He's got the inside jokes already.
So I knew I could drop that on him.
No, I think, well, it was a Facebook post a long time back, and Nick came across it recently, where I said, you've got that voice. You should do a podcast.
That's true. That was weird. I didn't even remember that.
So I think it was as early as that I started thinking about it, and then when you said you were doing one and put the word out, I jumped on it.
So you are an oracle, a trendsetter.
I try.
A clairvoyant.
Didn't help me win the Powerball last night.
So I think we have some live listeners. I sent some invites out to some people. So we'll have some live listeners. We happen to be recording live, and this theoretically should go out on October 7th. It's on my whiteboard over there.
Yeah, so those of you that happen to follow Ideas by Elliot or Camera Corner Studios out on Facebook, you're lucky to know that this is happening. This is just a test, a one-time thing. I have some customers that were asking me about capabilities, and we're going to try this one time. If it works well, we may do it again in the future, but we're in parachute mode, I would call it. I made sure I have a parachute.
Okay, that's what I'm wondering. Like, what does parachute mode mean?
It means
there is actually a parachute.
Yes.
We're not still checking for parachutes.
No, this is checking if we have a parachute.
Nice.
Hoping that we don't crash.
Well, I mean, we kind of hope. In a way, we kind of hope.
Recording.
We kind of hope we do crash in a way.
Well, yeah.
That means people care.
Right. I mean, that means that I don't have enough bandwidth, which means I have to get it elsewhere.
But that means you have a business model.
Right, exactly.
That means you have a reason to do this. So, yeah. So, in a way, we kind of want to break it.
Yeah, that's true.
So, yeah. So, anyway, so Don Nelson is here because actually this is his show, and it was all his idea. So, And I really should do a better job of giving you credit for that because, long before I did this, you said you should do a podcast. And what I found is almost everyone hates the sound of their own voice, myself included.
Me too.
So, because you grew up listening to it and it sounds different, and then you're like, I sound like that. I hate that. So it took a lot of overcoming of that for me to do that. And I still hate listening to full episodes end to end. But I often have to do that with Gina and Max in the car. So that's usually where we end up listening to them. We'll take a little road trip and we'll play it. Yeah. And when I was listening to Scott Eastman, I got all teary-eyed. It was, yeah. So I digress, though. So tell me a little more about why you're here.
Why am I here?
Yeah.
To promote. And podcasting is an excellent way to do that. And you've got the following now, right?
I believe so. I believe so. I think we're up to 7. We have 7 listeners.
Something like that.
Yeah. It's like the dwarves. It's like the 7 dwarves, right?
That and you're just fun to talk to.
Yeah. So okay. So I'll since you're struggling with this, Don, I will help you out. So Don has you were an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Solo entrepreneur.
Solo. Yep.
And the name of your business is
Linked Web Design Development, LLC.
And so, what kind of LLCs do you do there?
Linked Web Design is actually something that I started just over a year ago. And it was came at a time when I left the corporate world and wanted to do something myself.
What world was that?
I was actually in health insurance for almost 15 years.
In Green Bay?
In Green Bay.
Imagine that. Someone working in health insurance in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
On the Hill and Howard, yeah.
Well, that narrowed it down rather quickly. So my brother and my dad work out there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Neither of whom have been on the show, but both of whom I forced to listen on Monday. Yeah. So talk through that. You were there. You have something stable, corporate, whatever, not fun to you or to me.
No.
So talk me through that thought process. What brought you to take that leap?
Well, what brought me there was the stability, the job security.
Yeah.
With things that happened in the industry, especially with Obamacare, that changed quite rapidly. It wasn't so secure anymore.
Right.
And it started out as a small insurance company, bought out by the largest of them all right now. And that kind of changed the dynamic to go from a small company feel to huge corporate feel. I just, I was stuck in a cubicle and just not enjoying it. I'm grateful for it that I was able to have good pay and, be able to have the insurance to start a family. But it just got to the point where it was almost soul crushing. It was just, I didn't want to do it anymore. And
soul crushing.
Soul crushing, yes.
Okay, no. So I was with my family on Monday. It was Labor Day. Today is September 10th, even though this is not going to is scheduled to go on October 7th. So we do have some live listeners listening, but so whatever. We're right after Labor Day, and I was with my family, and my family let's see, I have to think that through. All of them that were there work for either Schneider National or United Health, and so they are all talking to me about how I need to get a real job. And I feel like I have a certain amount of respect in what I do around here. I don't think that, some of it's maybe unearned and, some of it is overblown, but I think I do a good job with what I do. And I would be horrible in corporate. For one thing, I can't have an explicit tag on my head if I'm like some businesses frown upon that.
Yep.
I might not be able to wear my ripped jeans. I might not be able to wear my band T-shirts, right?
Yep.
So I feel like I don't fit into that mold anymore. I can wear a suit on occasion, if I got to dress up for, some special awards ceremony or something. But day to day, to get my job done, I need to be comfortable and I need to be energized.
Yes.
So am I putting words in your mouth?
No, I agree completely.
So, I tried. I tried. I was at Shopko for a year, and I thought I could rescue them. My naivete, right? That I could single-handedly go in there and pull them into competition with Amazon. But I thought that there was something there, and we could have pushed forward. And over time, that team kind of fell apart. And I feel like I kind of fell apart first, and then not like it collapsed. It's still there, and they're still doing good work, and I know a lot of the people there. But things are different than they were for a while, and it's hard. So,
yeah,
and most people, and Nick works for kind of a small business, but still, people that are employees, that's most people. And they have a hard time understanding what we're even talking about. So, elaborate on that. I'm saying too much, but
it's and I think it was one of the last podcasts of yours I had listened to when you're talking to Nicole about how you have that creative frame of mind, and then you have that business drone kind of frame. And I understood completely what you meant about the creativity, because creativity comes on at any point. And I needed something where I could, when that spark hit, that I could be able to create. And I couldn't be the worker drone for 8 hours a day. It just, I didn't have the focus to do that.
So that hits for me around 2 p.m. I mean, typically, but you can't count on that either.
No.
So even when you try to schedule your day, then they want to have meetings. So if I had meetings from 7:30 in the morning until 2 o'clock, I wouldn't be creative anymore.
No.
I'd be ready to slit my body. There's an explicit tag, but I don't condone self-mutilation.
And my wife knows as well, because if something hits and I disappear into the basement, I'm off to the computer.
Right. Oh, I thought you were elaborating on the self-mutilation.
Oh.
I'm like, whoa, you just went there. Dang. So, okay. So, give me the time frame on that. When did that happen?
Time frame
of your evacuation from the corporate monoculture.
November 12th, 2013.
See,
Yeah,
you have the date. I love that.
I do.
Yeah. And so, what went into, what was your thought process on that? Was it scary? Was it exciting? Was it, did you have a bunch of savings? Talk through that.
Scary, yes. Savings, yes. I mean, I had a modest savings that I'd started when I started working there originally back in 99. So, have used that the past couple of years since I left to help make up for the salary difference between my wife and I. Because going from, 2 incomes to single income, scary. I mean, I'm lucky that my wife is supportive enough, and she carries that load. And
so you have a wife?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Your wife's name is
Emily.
And Emily does what?
She is a cardiac surgical nurse.
Yeah. Okay.
At Bellin.
Yeah. Why is she not here? She's far more interesting.
She's working. She is.
Oh. So she's not here because
she said to say hi.
She's actually making money so that you can do things like this.
Exactly.
I love this woman. You are a lucky man. You are luckier than most. I just want you to know that.
I agree.
So it was exciting and scary.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. So I won't belabor that point, but I live, eat, and breathe entrepreneurs. And, that's why I've been involved in the Broadway district. That's why I have the business that I have, much like you. I build websites for small businesses, by and large, right? And I've had some bigger clients, but I sort of despise that. I can do it. I can go and have meetings with 20 people, and I know my stuff, and I can handle that. But they can't. Like, they can't handle it, and it's hard for a group of 3 people to agree. So as soon as it gets past about 3, I'm like, I'm out. Like, I don't really want to deal with that. No. Get your stuff together, get one person, and then come and talk to me. And then we'll hammer out the differences, and I'll tell you why your ideas suck and my ideas are better. And so that works well for me. I don't know what your experience is, So I guess when you're going from corporate to what you're doing, were there any surprises for you?
Surprises? No. I think I pretty much knew for the most part what I was getting into.
Okay. So you have similar types of clients.
Yes.
So smaller
keep it small.
Places, yeah. And you intended that to be the case, or you...
Absolutely.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, what's your favorite part of that process with a client?
Collaboration. I mean, and with smaller businesses, it's nice. I like to... It's easier. It's so much easier to get to know a small business. Because like you said, when you're meeting with 10, 20 people, how personal can it get? I like that personal connection to be able to meet with someone.
It's not even just personal. How creative can it be?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I like being able to get to know the business through that person, to learn how they started, to learn what their goals are, and to really help them along. It's an amazing.
So briefly, talk me through that process. So a client comes to you. Is that typically the process, or are you up pursuing clients? Well, I mean,
that's the process I would like if they came to me. Yeah.
So I know it always is a little mixture of that,
it's
right?
It's a mixture, yeah.
But like, so typically, let's say somebody refers someone to you, right? That's always nice, right?
Yep.
And so they call you up. They're like, "Hey, Don, I need a website. I don't have a budget, and let's do this." Right? That's typically the conversation, right? I need, or this is how it usually goes. They don't say they don't have a budget. They say, "I just need something simple."
And it's never simple.
It's never simple. Their idea of simple is exactly what makes it hard. It baffles me that people say that. So simple and clean are words that I want banished from the industry, right? So if any customers are listening, don't use those, because those mean nothing. Those are meaningless words. So they call you up. They're like, "Don, make me a website." What happens next?
I like to start with some type of impersonal, what I consider a kickoff meeting, to learn their goals, to learn what they're looking for. As far as budget, as far as something simple, I kind of stress that they have to know off the bat. They have to have some type of budget idea. You can't go into it blindly saying you want something simple, and it's not going to work that way.
So you do everything custom?
No, I did. Actually, the past about a year or so, I think I started using the Genesis framework.
Okay.
For WordPress.
Well, okay. But I mean, you build things on top of that.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, custom doesn't mean that you go and you mine your own copper wires and build your own. Obviously you're building on top of something, right? Yeah. So you're building custom solutions for people.
Yes.
Yeah. Using tools to make you more agile at that.
Yes.
Yeah. So. Does the budget dictate the project, or does the project dictate the budget? Like, and what I mean by that is, do people come in and they're like, "Hey, I got $5,000 budgeted. What can you do for me?" Or do they say, "I want to do this, this, and this. What's it going to cost?"
I think it's more the latter.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when they come in with, even if they were to come forward with a budget, you still need to know, what they want, what their goals are. And that's where I start,
Okay.
And project scope means a lot to me because you can start out with something very simple. You think you're almost finished. And then it's like, well, yeah, I've seen this site do this. Can we tack this on? Can we
So did I ever talk to you about that? Up front, I always, that very first meeting, I always talk about the must-haves.
Oh, yeah.
So you have something similar?
Yeah.
So I always say, and I always use that because it's sort of a weird, vague term, right? And then they're like, well, I don't know what that means. And I'm like, the must-haves are when we get to the end of the project and I say, okay, we're done. And you say, no, we're not. You must have a picture of my building, or you must have a video that this place did that I didn't tell you about. I need those today. You need to get those to me today or tomorrow. ASAP.
Good approach.
Those are yeah, because so you're kind of like flipping it backwards, right? You're like, okay, and then we get to the end of the project and they're like, oh, I don't think it's done. You're like, well, we talked about that. And remember the must-haves? Yeah, they're there. The must-haves are there. So, yeah, actually, we're done. Because that's the slippery slope. And I mean, and from, if you were approaching this from a client point of view, you never want it to be done. Why would you?
No, exactly.
Right? So you need to have some sort of endpoint to be fair to your other clients, if not fair to you. Like I can't just spend 10 hours a day working on one person's thing forever unless they're paying me to do that.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, how do you solicit referrals? Are you a very referral based business?
Yeah.
So how do you cultivate that?
Going through, honestly, friends and family, starting out, Facebook connections, Twitter. I mean, like you said, the referral is the ultimate promotion. It's free. You do an outstanding job for one person, they spread that to 10 people.
Yeah. So, but what about existing clients, or are those existing clients?
Those are existing clients.
Okay.
For me.
So people that are okay. So this is something that I heard or read the other day that fascinating. Like like not like I'm Mark Zuckerberg or anything, but it's fascinating thinking about how relationships all fit together. Because whatever, we all have like 1,000 friends on Facebook or whatever. More friends than we have, right?
True.
Like in reality, I have I don't know. I think Nick's my friend. So Nick's my friend and I got 3 other friends, right? And,
Maybe.
Okay. So, okay. So you guys aren't really even my friends, I guess. So so now I'm down to 1 and I got 1 friend and that may or may not be one of my brothers. I'm just saying. So, I guess my point is you don't intimately know 1,000 people. So, there's sort of concentric rings around, there's levels, right? Levels of friendship, right? And I think this was on another podcast, and they were talking about those people that are super close to you are horrible for you as business contacts.
Really?
By and large, because they are so close to you, they're internalizing your reputation. They might be proud of you, but they're afraid to let you down, and they're afraid to let other people down that it may also be close to them or may not be close to them, because it's they're very closely tied to your reputation.
True.
Whereas somebody else who's just another client that's a little bit more distantly related to you, you can feel pretty close to them, get along with them really well, right? But I'm talking close friends, close family, there's a few people I grew up with, and I don't think I've ever gotten business leads from them, partly because I think they maybe don't really understand what I do. And same thing with family. It's really hard. And Gina's family's better than my family at that, where we have gotten some, but then, and no offense to any of them. I mean, I appreciate the opportunities, but usually their expectations are higher and their budgets are lower, and yet they still think they're doing you a favor. That's where it becomes kind of hard. So when they become clients directly, and It's hard for them to be clients directly if they have connections. If they're not, it's hard for them to get your referral if they're not using yours. They're not a client too, right?
True.
Because what do they say? They're like, hey, Don would be great, and then they're like, yeah, but you go to this other dude for your stuff, so what's up with that? And then they're like, well, So so there's all sorts of like complicated relationship things, kind of tied into that. And that's super. Maybe you don't care about that, but it's super fascinating to me. So I think that's where, that's the whole reason for LinkedIn to exist, actually. And I have close friends and family on there too, but that becomes it's a little more arm's length, right? You're not showing and people do all sorts of things with all these things, right? Some people use Facebook for business and they use LinkedIn and show some weird personal things, right? But by and large, you're not going to have cat pictures on LinkedIn. Right. So, and not just because you're trying to be all business, but that's just like an intimate thing that isn't necessary.
Yeah.
And I feel like that, I don't know. I'm just sort of thinking out loud here, but that was super interesting to me where on the whole referral process, because, we are in a weird place here. When you first got on, you said, I'm on podcast to help promote my business a little bit, which I appreciate. Because traditional media, at least for people that are in our age group and are, I don't watch TV.
No.
I talked to a couple, I think relatively well-known TV personalities about getting them on. And I thought, I feel kind of guilty because I don't watch their stuff very much. And so I was watching, I watched the first episode of Colbert and I, accidentally flipped the news on early. So I'm like, oh, now I saw a couple of these guys. So that's good. That's good. Okay. They're still on the air. I understand what's going on. So and while that process has taken like a decade, things have changed. So it's fascinating to me that whole, especially for small businesses, how personality driven and how relationship driven business has become.
Oh, absolutely.
20 years ago when I got started, people talked about networking, and I'm doing air quotes, right? And but literally, it is networking now. It's literally networking. Yep. You are electronically tied in a database to these other people.
Yep.
So you are literally networked to them. So, which is super fascinating because I don't think people back then conceived of it being that way, but it totally is. So anyway, I'm going on. So tell me about your favorite, you can name names or not, but tell me about your favorite project that you've had. So you've been doing this about 2 years-ish, and maybe. Yeah. Okay. So tell me about your favorite project.
Right now, I actually am working on a site through an organization called catchafire.org. And what they do is they match professionals with nonprofit organizations.
Nice.
Completely volunteer. So, I am doing this site for free. But what they're stressing is, the money that they're saving for my help for, 2-3 months is going to go toward, something much greater, in my opinion. And what you do is you sign up, you put in, whatever you do, whatever your interests are. For me, it was web design and development, social media. I think were my three top. And then you just search through. And I came across an organization out of Connecticut called Recovery Network of Programs. And they are a nonprofit organization that helps with addiction. They have several inpatient and outpatient facilities.
Wow.
I'm working with one individual, which is nice for, like you said, a couple versus 20. Mm-hmm. One is just perfect.
Right.
And it's nice in that they, at least from my experience with this one, they don't want to take advantage of you. They're grateful for what you're doing. Also, to learn about addiction and to learn about what they're doing has just been fascinating.
Really?
And that catchafire.org.
Nice. Yeah. And so I have the site up. I know we're not video. Maybe someday we will be. But I had never heard of this thing. So, but it's not just for web guys.
No.
Yeah. So like, so there's two little drop downs. What do you care about? What are you good at? And they have like accounting, branding, business development, coaching, communication, legal, web development, web design. Oh, those are two different things. We should talk about some of that.
Yeah.
Writing, social media. Oh, that's different too. Weird. Marketing, information technology. These are all different things that actually exist as different things. Fascinating. I live in Green Bay where they're all the same. So super interesting. So you got hooked up with an addiction place. And so, what's something you learned about that you were surprised about? You kind of mentioned that you kind of learned about the addiction.
Yeah. Well, one of the programs that they have started with their local police and local judicial system is to take a look at nonviolent offenders being arrested for possession, use of drugs, and getting them into an appropriate treatment program versus incarceration. And I've believed that for a long time, that incarceration is not the answer to someone abusing drugs or alcohol.
You don't say. Are there people that feel otherwise?
Yeah, most.
Who are these people?
Most city governments. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just so backwards, and it's.
Meanwhile, after work they go and have martinis and shots of whiskey.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, am I saying that we're a nation of hypocrites? Perhaps I am. So yeah. So Nick said we have 4 live listeners.
Yep.
You saw that?
I saw that.
Yeah. Nice. So thank you, listeners.
That's actually changed. Let me get you an update. This is exciting. There's more people now.
Nice. Well, I texted a bunch of people, and they're probably and Terry Taylor said, "Is this what did he say? What is this? Are you sending me something from Russia?" And
everybody thinks that.
And
cccp.com.
Right. And it took me a second to understand what he was talking about.
He is a comedian, isn't he?
He tries, don't you, Terry? You try, don't you?
Okay, so I thought you might find this interesting. I am able to see where some of these people are from.
Yeah.
And I am seeing New York City, Appleton, Wisconsin, Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Are you recording that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. Okay. So
everybody needs to, especially your sponsors, need to realize that there's some reach to this program.
Yeah. Well, and we're trying to branch it up, not like intentionally branch it out, but we're trying to up the quality. So we actually have to talk about important stuff.
Well, and I'm actually supposed to remind you also, since our clock is out on the road today, we're at 31 minutes.
Oh.
Actual 31 because we restarted?
Yeah, on the actual recording, we're at more like 32 now.
Okay. So
so you know.
So mine's accurate. Okay.
I'm not in any rush.
No. So we have 2 sponsors.
That's true.
Yeah. So we got to get it. We got to get a move on. So, do you have a preference? You want to?
Well, I'll be brief. I'll just say, hey, if you want to be like Elliot and have a show and maybe be live, call me at 920-272-0148.
And move on
to the other one.
And pay me a license fee.
Well,
I get a cut.
You get a cut? All right. We'll discuss this later.
Whenever anybody says that means no, you don't get a cut.
When we aren't live and I can edit the broadcast, we'll discuss this.
That's what we're supposed to do. You're not supposed to record everything you say because it can and will be used against you.
Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely.
So you gave the phone number?
Yep. I think I did. I'll say it again.
Give it again, yeah.
920-272-0148. You can also email us at rentals@cccp.com. We got a team of people to help out, but video, audio, broadcast, photo, whatever, you need it.
And live stream.
Live stream, yeah. This is working. Granted, this is a relatively low listenership because we didn't promote it yet.
No,
but
I texted and tweeted right, like literally right before.
And really, it just comes down to me figuring out how many servers I need to fit the audience size you're anticipating having. So, I already have just now. I got a booking for Monday, so we will be doing this next week again for sure.
A stream?
Yeah.
booking for us,
For someone else.
someone
Who's listening that wants to do one.
Nice.
You are effective. This is why I put my eggs in your basket.
So, okay, so I know we go too long on the spots. I'm sorry about that, but I get really excited when I'm here because there's like killer equipment here.
Yeah.
So I would like Don's quick take on that. You haven't been here. You didn't even know how to get
first
here.
time. No, I was actually across the street.
At the store where all the other toys are.
Yeah. So give me your 10-second. What do you think about this place?
Excellent. I'm an AV geek, so equipment wise, I mean it's excellent.
And
In seeing it on photographs that you put out, it didn't appear that big, but man, you got a lot of space here.
yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty sizable. I think that room is like 29 by 30.
It's big enough to do anything you'd want to do with video.
Yeah, and I kind of mapped it out. I don't know if you guys are familiar with like Google SketchUp.
Sure.
I did a little layout of the building and planned, and I actually have like layouts in mind to do like 4-camera video shoots with multiple sets. So I could have a newsroom in the corner you're sitting in. Normally there's a green screen between us, but that's out on a job site right now. So I could actually do nightly news in there. It would be a relatively small, it's not a channel 5, channel 11, but I actually could.
Don and I would love to do that.
Yeah,
Thank you for
There
asking.
you are. Which one of you does sports, which one does weather, and which one reads a teleprompter?
Yes. I mean, we're going to need a teleprompter. Let's
Yes.
be real.
No.
I don't just know the news. I could read Twitter.
You got to also write it before you read it, though.
Well, not
I
really,
don't-
because
I
I think
don't
we'll just
have it
read
written.
Twitter. I think we could just be like,
you go.
oh, this stuff's going on. It's super cool.
Well, and if we keep doing live shows, we could have a Twitter wall in there for you to read.
I think
your
that would be
comments.
awesome.
Yeah,
That'd be nice.
I'm just goofing around, but I think that would actually be pretty cool.
that's something we can
Yeah.
talk about in the future. And I'm not saying that in a negative light this
Yeah.
time.
This isn't a comedy show, Nick. This is serious.
Okay, get to your sponsor.
Okay, no, I you know what? One other thing that I wanted to do is because you mentioned that a few people have heard about things and want to be here, and I kind of want to volunteer. So if you get anybody, I don't care. It doesn't necessarily have to be directly related to this, but I am offering myself up to, for the time being, if anybody wants, just some generic dude to do voiceovers, I would be happy to do that for somebody.
Cool.
Or whatever. I'm open to anything. So if they just want, if they want me to dress up as a chicken and throw things at me on video, I would do whatever. So if they need an extra, I'm willing to be an
I
extra.
could use you for that as long as the chicken suit still shows your face.
Right.
I'll write a script.
So I'm being a little goofy, but I know sometimes it's hard to get extras that are willing and able to jump in to do some things, and I'd be super happy to do that for you.
Cool.
So,
Thank
yeah,
you. I
yeah.
appreciate that, and I bet the community does as well.
Oh, me
Thanks.
too. I'm willing, but I don't know about the ability. But
Yeah. Well, you won't be paid.
Right.
You aren't going to get paid.
No.
This is
the experience, and it would be fun.
I think we use too much bandwidth. The bandwidth police are here.
All right. Thanks. I'll go check out what they need. Keep your show going.
So we do have another sponsor, and I'm going to bring up his bullet points. But this is an old friend of mine who I don't know if you're familiar. I don't know if you saw I had an eBay auction.
Yes.
For sponsorship. Since you follow my every move, Don.
I did bid.
It's Did you?
Yeah, I did.
Well, eBay kind of hides that.
Yep.
So I truthfully did not know who was who until the end, and I got messaged by another person, and I didn't get permission to mention who the other person was, but and I don't know, they were bidding on sponsorship, so they probably like it, but it was super interesting. I didn't think that anybody would be excited to do it, so the particular winner. And he did let me know, Dan Jones, old friend of mine, which was very humbling. And so last night I got in touch with him to get me information for the sponsorship, and he said, really, I'm just doing that to help you out and to promote podcasting as a local thing.
Nice.
So I mean, super kudos to him, and he's a genius business guy, sort of a serial entrepreneur, but he's been doing this for this his current business for 10 years, so it's hard to say that he isn't committed. So I don't. Sometimes you hear serial entrepreneur and you think of like the Twitter guys, and they're like, I don't know, I'm started doing Twitter and I'm started doing Square, and I don't know, I'm crazy, right? Dan's not that. He's very committed. One thing that he didn't put in his bullet points that I know that he does is he's very dedicated to employing people that are visually impaired.
Oh, okay.
That have difficulty getting jobs some other places. So, I mean, he's
awesome.
He's an all around good dude. So he's helping the local media industry. He helps people that have disabilities of various kinds. Excellent guy, and I feel horrible that I've kind of not kept closer in touch with him over the last decade. But I know he's been busy with this. So the promotion that he would like us to have, and I'm going to get some graphics up on the website, is for ReleaseWire, and that is at releasewire.com. And anybody listening that is a business person or an organization that could use press release services can go to connect.releasewire.com, and they can set up a free business profile. So there's no cost to doing that. And I'm just going to read some of these stats. It's unbelievable. So he's been doing this for 10 years, so he's not new at it. He's an expert. They shoot press release to over 350 media outlet websites. So that doesn't mean that they're faxing a press release to a couple local media places. These are places that will get the word out. So 350 places all around, presumably worldwide, but certainly nationwide. It doesn't specifically say worldwide, but whatever. What happens here is actually worldwide. The United States is the center of the universe. But 95,000 businesses have used the service, which is mind-blowing. So I would encourage, Don's probably doing it right as we speak, to go
I am on there.
connect.releasewire.com and fill out a free business profile. I have not done it yet because I just got this information last night, and I had actual client work that I had to do. And I had a meeting this morning and all that stuff. So Dan and ReleaseWire are sponsoring the show for all of October. This is our first October episode. It's going to be on October 7th. And I'm super pumped about that. While I'd like to actually make money doing this, and I'm going to roll all that money back into promotion to kind of build things up. I'm super stoked about that, and humbled because there were, he wasn't the only one that bid, but he was intent on winning. I'm just blown away by that, and I can't say enough good things about Dan. And I'm so. It's a little scary putting a thing out on eBay saying, hey, anybody wants to sponsor stuff as long as it's not illegal. I was kind of afraid I'd get some crazies, and Dan is far from that. Dan is a well-respected business person, and he loves small business just like I do. Like, this is a perfect match. So I'm excited. I got to leave stuff for the next time. So, you have anything to add to that?
No.
Feel free. I like to include the guest.
No, so that's one.
It's your show.
That's one of the things I like about the local promotions, because unless hearing it on your podcast or honestly just hearing it today and pulling it up, I never would have known about it.
Right. Well, and one thing the reason that he mentioned that he really just wants to help me out, which I'm still blown away by. Most of his customers are not here. He has 58,000 customers.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, there aren't 58,000 businesses in Green Bay, right? So, I mean, he gets out everywhere. Like Nick said, the podcast gets out a little bit, but, realistically, I understand it's regional, and it's going to probably be regional and grow slowly, right? Yeah. But I'm super pumped to have them on board, and I hope I can do everything I can to keep them happy. So really, truly, go out to connect.releasewire.com. Enough said about that, because I gotta save stuff for the next one. So back to Don. Geek out on me a little bit.
Geek out.
Yeah. So do you consider yourself to be, okay, so I was being a little sarcastic with the list on, I forgot the name of the website, catchafire.org, where the things we do tend to be, cross discipline, like they'd say in college, right? So which aspects of that do you consider to be your strengths and your weaknesses, so to speak?
Well, I'm a jack of all trades, master of none.
That's because you're in Green Bay.
Yeah.
Like truly.
And I think being a sole owner, a sole individual in a web design company, you kind of have to have all your bases covered. I'm starting to branch out because I think one of my weakest areas is probably graphic design. So if I'm trying to come up with an idea and I can't quite get what I want, I do have a couple of professional graphic designers that I can fall back on and put ideas out to them. And
so that thing you sent to me, did you do that or did you have somebody else do that?
No, I did.
I figured that was good.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
I'm not going to use it.
No,
because I don't want to pay you. Like, how screwed up is that?
No, I wouldn't charge you.
Well, so I'll circle back to that. I won't, because I want to hear you talk more about this. So you're, the things you're good at, things you're not so good at. You feel like you're not really good at graphic design. I actually think in the modern look of things, the current design trends, I feel like I'm good at it. I feel like you're good at it. I feel like some of the people that are that over design, they overcomplicate things sometimes, and so that the complication with kind of being cross discipline, I think helps. Because you're also dealing with user experience.
Yep.
And you're dealing with the sales process. So you're dealing with the goals of the client and, all of the complicated ways to fit things in. And, our next guest is here. Next victim. And so your weak point is graphic design, and I don't want to. So what I really want to know is, what do you think your strengths are?
Probably user experience, user interface design. I have that, and I think it honestly comes from being an Apple user. If you think about it, the devices and software are so intuitive that I've used that.
So you sort of internalize that philosophy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I have to. And, I guess some people might think it's boring, but, okay. Thank you for that. Just got a note that we had 15 minutes left. We're not over yet. So we don't have to wrap up quite yet. So, what's fascinating to me is clients generally have an almost like 180 idea of design.
Yes.
So what are your thoughts on that? Don't just say yes, my God.
Yes.
Like they want things that are complicated.
Yeah.
Right?
And, I still have people that, look at sites with the large carousels and
right. Ooh,
they see a lot of those and that's what they want.
So slideshow carousels.
No, just don't.
You just don't.
No. They don't convert.
So, okay, so I have it. I have an it depends on there.
Really?
Absolutely. So a couple places where I think it can be effective. If it is a particularly nonprofits, they need to be very visual.
Yeah.
I do believe that can help tell their story very clearly without lots of scrolling, and it works cross-platform. So I feel like there's a strong place for strong visuals in that case.
Yeah.
And that usually encompasses a lot of things. So events, so like it helps you know about, some upcoming events. So things like that are hard to like list and make look as prominent.
Yeah.
Conversion is weird because and let's go back to events. So with events, like the newest event is one that's everybody's buzzed about.
Yep.
The ones that are out, 6 months, they're not going to get much conversion. So it's not really a fair thing, right? And so as far as conversions, like, the whole idea is you're talking about e-commerce, right? So Amazon or Shopko.com, puts up products. Yeah, the fifth one in the list is not going to get click-throughs. But partly that's because maybe the first one was awesome. And a lot of people clicked on that. The type of people that are going to click, maybe they clicked right away.
True.
So I mean, it's I have mixed feelings on that. Okay, so that's one place. I think for e-commerce, kind of sucks, but other things I think it helps tell the story. And then also on blogs, I feel like it's a space saver. So on my blog that I'm putting together right now, I just thought this through last night. So it's funny that you said that. I'm gonna slideshow if I have multiple images attached to a blog post, because they're extra, right? I mean, so blog posts, it's mostly about the words, but the images are, they're auxiliary, and I'm not expecting conversions. They don't want it. There's nothing to click on, so I think it can be effective there. It kind of helps tell the story along with what they're reading. And I know that you can, you could have them embedded throughout and they're, attached to the thing they're talking about. And that's probably a little more effective, but it's a lot more work for less payoff. So I always look at that balance. So not to like shut you down, but
no.
I feel like it's a tool with a time and a place, and they get overused.
And I'll agree with you on the nonprofit, because the Catch a Fire project that I'm working on, I did actually implement one, but they're not going anywhere. It's just to tell the story.
Yep. You don't care about the conversions. Yeah.
And each image has a quote from an actual client, an anonymous quote that. Yeah. So
and let's be real. I mean, so for most nonprofits, they're looking for money or volunteers, or potentially like people to help.
Yeah.
So I mean that I think that's almost everything that any nonprofit ultimately is about, right?
Yeah.
So there isn't a lot for them to convert on. And I think it would be a fail for them to have a slide talking to each of those points and expect people to click through on those.
Yeah.
I think it's better to have those, in the little buckets below or whatever, right? So tell me about your favorite cool web technology right now.
Favorite cool web technology.
It doesn't have to be super cutting edge. Because I will tell you, we don't have that many people that are going to out-geek us on that. So, like, you're not going to, you're going to be like, oh, I like Node.js. And they're like, oh, well, you're not obviously not using AngularJS. Because
and it's funny as you say that, because I was going to bring up Angular.
Yeah.
I haven't learned any of it yet, but.
Yeah. So what do you like about it? Or what's interesting to you about it?
Basically, you can have a website that acts as an app.
Okay.
They call them SPAs, the single page applications.
Yeah.
I like that concept.
Why?
Fast.
Okay. What about SEO?
It's got speed. SEO, yeah. I don't think about it as much as I should.
So,
unfortunately.
So to me, building small business websites, it's heavily about SEO,
absolutely,
and image, and
true.
The speed, like half the people pulling up the website, it's to get their phone number or their address, right?
Yeah.
Which I don't think that's a bad thing, but that's a big reason why the website's being pulled up, right? So like certain things need to be fast, and you don't want it to be overtly slow. But like the one-page application, I feel like might be confusing to some of their customers.
Really?
So and certainly isn't going to be deep linked, so Google's going to have a tough time finding it without, and I'm sure there's special tricks you can do to fake pages and stuff like that. But so I worry about that stuff, and I feel like the extra complexity, and I guess there's a time and a place.
Yeah.
And I haven't found a time and a place to actually use much of any of those types of things, except on the periphery, So if there's like something where it needs to draw from the server and it does need to be sort of real time, I see a place for some of that. But like building the whole site in that, I don't know. I like what I got.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, and I'm comfortable with what I have and what I'm doing.
Just being devil's advocate. So you're being pro, I'm being con. We're fair and balanced. That's what I'm going for. So anything else? You like Angular? What else?
CSS3 animations, I think I'm getting more into now. And
Yeah, I think
and I like that Flash is dying.
Yeah.
Flash is going away.
Yeah. So almost everything that I do is in CSS, ultimately. You know, because if you're, you said, I don't build a website from scratch. Well, you're using some sort of framework, some sort of content management system, something like that, right?
Yep.
So that does a lot of the heavy lifting, although you have to configure it and you got to set everything up and you got to know what it's doing.
Yeah.
But that's building the HTML for you. That's oftentimes building the JavaScript for you. And so ultimately a lot of what you're doing is you're putting the content into the right places in that system, which you have to know how to do. And then you have to make it look good.
Yep.
And that's CSS. And so I spend most of my time at CSS, partly because like you, I feel like I'm an adequate but not amazing designer. And so that probably takes me a little more time to get good results than, somebody like Craig, So, there's certain designers that, they just... they sneeze and they have, put out a better design than I could do in a month, right? And I'm also not that patient, so I only have so much I can put into it, right?
Yeah.
So anything else? Any new stuff that you've heard of that you think would be interesting?
No, honestly, sadly.
So
I haven't been keeping up.
So no. Well, you deal with clients. So what do you think are things that are interesting to clients that they might not know, like, or should be interesting that are not? You know what I'm getting at? Things that are surprising to them when they come in to talk to you, maybe.
SEO.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't think about it as much as I should. But I do give basics.
Now, is that because clients don't have any idea about how that actually works?
No.
And so you don't really talk through it with them because,
Well, what's surprising to a lot is that they figure if you are good at SEO.
And what's SEO?
Search engine optimization.
I know, I threw that out.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, my bad, actually.
It's something that I think a lot of people think can be done. If you're good, you can do it overnight. It doesn't work that way.
No, it's actually the hardest thing.
Yeah.
Because it's it's cross-discipline, right?
Yep.
So you have to think like the machine, but you also have to be able to interpret content.
Yep.
So you have to refactor your HTML, you have to refactor your CSS, you have to reprioritize things. Some things need to be an H2 instead of an H1. Some things need to have more links, and all of that you have to kind of process through with your language skills.
Yep.
So it kind of, to me, being good at search engine optimization uses those two parts of your brain that aren't activated at the same time. So it's super hard to do that all like in one sitting.
Yeah.
And I think most people do not. I feel like I do a pretty good job of a balanced approach on that. And then what I really try to do for SEO, because what matters is content.
Yep.
I try to give clients pointers as to, without overwhelming them, right? So it becomes this balance, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, and there's one right there. She's like, oh, I know. I don't want to be overwhelmed. So, like, do it this way. And you kind of want to, there's the priorities, right?
Yeah.
So there's priorities of this is the most important thing, and these other things are also important. But if you're only going to do one, do this. You kind of want to drill that into them, and and I don't spend as much time talking about that as I probably should either. But I try to at least instill some of those like rules of thumb, and I've had varying degrees of success with that, but most of it is like people who are actively blogging or actively updating content. They do a good job with it. Other people don't.
Yeah.
So because they pick up on some of that too.
Yeah.
So favorite project, favorite technologies outside of work. What else you got?
Outside of work, well, I'm involved in. I just started blogging.
What's your blog?
Dependingontheweather.com.
Okay.
Depending on the weather, it was actually a local band from the Menominee area that I was going to do a website for.
Okay.
Had the
so
URL
you had the domain.
Had the domain. They broke up, and I decided I liked it, and I decided I want to do a blog, but I don't have a niche. And so I'm just going to blog about anything.
I keep saying Don is so lame, and Gina sticks up for you. And I understand why, because you are also a cheapskate.
I am.
So cheapskates stick together, I guess.
Need someone to tip the table over. Yeah. No, it's and I always had the idea of doing a blog, and like I said, not having a niche. I decided, depending on the weather, posts are going to be
It's actually
whatever
a great
I think
name.
about that way that day.
I actually thought it was a really creative name. So
Thank you.
I'm sort of let down that I know the real story. But that's how it always is, right? The real story is always like, oh, I like the story that I came up with in my head better. Okay. So, and what kind of things are on that blog?
Right now, I kind of jump around. I keep it I kind of put personal things kind of intertwined in there. I have an article about social media right now. A topic came up with a Press Gazette reporter here about
what's the address
profiles.
again? I'm sorry.
Depending on the weather.
Depending on the weather. We just had a big joke about it. I only have room in my brain for one thing. And you started talking about other stuff, so it's beautiful. So some of the titles you have here are also social media profiles are fake, which I feel like I contributed to that.
Absolutely.
Public schools have it all backwards. I love the stuff you talk about. So you got a few pages of stuff already. The need for failure, stuff that I love. So I guess if I was going to summarize it, I would say these are things that are things for entrepreneurs to care about, and like well-rounded entrepreneurs to think about and care about. So sort of like implicit like ideas for them to implement, but also like things to have on their radar, like the public schools have it all backwards kind of thing, which I've been saying for years, and like not in a negative way, like not cutting them down,
no, absolutely
because
not.
like teachers have to follow the rules that are given to them. It's the people deciding, and many teachers know some of these things, and they're the ones talking about some of it. But yeah, and I talked to some of that about with my brother, the charter school thing. Like, kids should be doing most of their learning at home in front of a screen because they do it anyway. They watch Minecraft videos for 20 hours a day. I don't know if your kids do that.
Yep.
But oh my gosh, like it's painful, and super interesting. I love your blog and
thank you.
And and truthfully, so like the internet is so screwed up now. So the only time I really see them though is when they're posted to Facebook, because there used to be RSS readers, and now those things have kind of gone away. We got some good feedback on the audio stream.
Nice.
Adam just said that it was working great before, and now it's a little what did he say? Scratchy and laggy just now.
Interesting.
Yeah. So maybe. Yeah. So are we up to 100 listeners? Is that why?
I mean, look.
I would love to say that's the reason.
Refresh in a little while. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, not hundreds.
But we have more?
We do have more.
Okay.
And just if I could have those people that are listening, like I said, this is a pilot project for me. If they could each shoot me an email, rentals@cccp.com, and let me know what your experience was like. Like I said, I already have a booking for next Monday for a commercial company to do something like this, and your feedback would be very greatly appreciated, just so I can know what I can do to make it better.
Okay.
Excellent.
Yeah. All right. So you got your blog. What else you got?
I am involved with another nonprofit in the Menominee area, Menominee, Michigan, which is the Menominee Opera House, which was a historic building built in 1902 that currently I'm on the board of directors, and I do their website and social media, and basically bringing in donations to restore that and make it a modern facility, but staying within the confines of historically accurate.
Nice. So that brings up another interesting little thing. People devalue what we do so much. And I've been asked by, oh my God, over the years, hundreds at least of nonprofits or small profits to, you know, oh, can you just do this for me? And I'm a bleeding heart. Like I want to help people.
I know
right?
the feeling.
Yeah. And I know you feel that way. And so early on, because we were in a period of time where, you know, the web was just exploding and we were getting like daily, like literally we would get calls daily. And so I told our staff that if it's a project that they feel passionately about, we could pursue it. However, we require that for them to get a discount or any kind of in-kind whatever, right, to do it free, that we have to have somebody on their board of directors.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because I will tell you, nothing will piss you off more than you do a shit ton of work for an organization and then they go and they pay somebody else either to do the same thing over.
Yeah.
And yeah, it'll be better because they're paying for it. Hopefully it's better. Sometimes it's not, which blows my mind. And then, but even if they go buy a new car for the organization, you know, like, so you had, you know, $30,000 to drop on a car, but you can, you know, pay anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and maybe those are all appropriate uses of the money, but that's why you want to be on the board. So you can help make those decisions.
Absolutely.
And you can voice those concerns. Because I feel like, nonprofits, and I'm way overgeneralizing, but, they have a hard time. I mean, I get that, but, I think they need to be more careful with how they, solicit board members that are not truly invested.
Yes.
And that's one way to get invested board members is people who are actually doing things for you, right? But also they have an issue with, taking people for granted. And not everybody, and some are super appreciative, and I'm super overgeneralizing, and I've dealt with all kinds. The biggest problem comes when like a new executive director comes in and everything that was done before is going to be done differently now. Yeah. So like you have this 10-year relationship with an organization, you've donated services for 10 years, and they bring in their friend. Yeah. Who is most likely going to do a shittier job. Because you've been doing it 10 years and they might have just started doing this stuff 6 months ago. Yep. Right. So I don't know. So I'm voicing some of like my peripherally frustrations. I don't know if you've come across that. You get hit up a lot with nonprofits?
I do. Catch a Fire, though, was something I pursued. The Menominee Opera House project, I was not actually originally on the board of directors when I started with them. But it was also the fact that I was given kind of free rein as far as the website. They had something in place at the time, wanted something completely refreshed, said basically, here, run with it.
That always works great too.
Yeah.
So if you're able to do cool stuff that you want to put in your portfolio, exactly, that helps as well. But when they're saying, well, we need it to look exactly like this, and it's simple, simple, right? I want to strangle them. Just do it this way. Yeah. We had an intern do a mock-up. Make it look like that. Nothing makes me happier than to hear that. God bless interns, right? But they are not familiar with user experience. No, they're familiar with using Photoshop. Yep. So enough on that. Anything I forgot to ask you? No. Really? No. I don't think so. So you're as boring as I tell everybody you are.
Yeah, I proved it.
Ah, damn it.
Honestly, and I will say that the blog, I had been asked to do a guest blog for a website to promote my blog that didn't exist at the time. So that was one thing that pushed me into it. But another was honestly your podcasting. Nice. Because I wanted to do a blog, but I'd never done it before. Sure. And here you are never having done a podcast before. Sure. And, you've made mistakes along the way. Really? But I'm sure Nick can attest to that.
No comment.
Yeah.
Pleading the fifth.
The mistake right over there in the red shirt.
But I mean, you weren't afraid to just go out and do it, and dive in and do it right away. And that's actually what really pushed me to do the blog. It was like, well,
Nice.
Elliot's doing podcasting. He's never done it before. Why can't I do this?
So, I mean, we're not Microsoft or Apple or Google.
No.
And I mean, even
You don't
Google,
have to be.
Even Microsoft, even Apple to some extent, like they do stupid things, make mistakes, and they get over it, right?
Yeah.
And they got teams of people talking about, oh, we can't, mistakes, right? And they still make mistakes. And so I'm like, I'm not going to know. I don't know what I don't know. And so there's sort of that ignorance is, whatever, the beginner's advantage or whatever, all those kinds of things, right? And I'm not amazing, and there's so many people better at this than I am. Like, Scott Eastman should really be doing this, Like, that guy's amazing. Love that guy.
That was a fun listen.
But I try to get better every time. And that's a hard thing, because you're like, okay, you're mentally like, well, I got to get better at this. Have to not breathe into the microphone so much, right? And then, but then you automatically forget other things that come more natural to you.
Yeah.
So, hopefully you get better over time, and and blogging same way.
Yeah.
You find what works, but the important thing is to keep at it.
Yeah.
Like, keeping at it is the most important thing. And honestly, nobody's going to look back at your first blog and go, oh, this is horrible. Because for one thing, they're not horrible. Not in any way. They're great. But I try to explain to people, like, keep a good schedule.
Yeah.
And just get something out there.
Yeah.
And talk about what's on your mind. And it's not always going to be perfect. And sometimes you'll create some controversy and you might have to backpedal. But that's human.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're in this new human world. So, I don't know. That's enough said on that, I guess. Got another link. What's this? Gary, click on the link. We might have to do Melissa's on the thing too.
Sure.
Okay.
That's doable. I would like to briefly terminate the stream between, but I'll make an announcement after we wrap up this show.
No, that's cool. So then, okay, give the recap. How do people get a hold of Don Nelson?
You can go to linkedwebdesign.com.
Okay.
Or dependingontheweather.com. I have contact links on both.
Excellent. Something I should learn from, because I don't have any contact links on my website yet. I'm afraid of people contacting me.
Twitter, DJ Nels.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
I
where
put that out on my tweet too.
Primarily am.
Okay. So
Okay.
not LinkedIn, not Facebook.
Oh yeah, I am on LinkedIn. I did, again, not something.
Are you
I
in as
utilize
Don
as much.
Nelson on LinkedIn?
Don Nelson GB.
Oh, for the
LinkedIn.
short name?
Yeah, for the short URL.
I can try to bring that up. And then, so one last question, and then you're going to talk about the music again.
Awesome.
You're the first
Yeah.
person that really got to talk about the music.
That's
other
true.
Other than Max. Max got to talk about his tracks, which I thought he did pretty good in Garage
He did.
Band.
He did all right.
Yeah.
He's a good singer. He really is. So when you come back to co-host, and honestly, you're not coming back to co-host because you're just not there, Don.
Sorry.
No, I'm just
Any
kidding.
second chance.
No, I actually think you'd be great. Surprisingly. Like, I was like,
Really?
I don't know. Well, because, like, I know what you do, so without talking too much about what we do, I don't know what else to talk about. So I was this was probably, in a way, my scariest one. So yeah.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was sort of good. Got me out of my comfort zone a little bit.
Good.
And I hope we covered a fair amount of stuff about you.
Yeah.
So who would you like to be our guest when you co-host?
So I could pick anyone.
You could pick pretty much anybody.
Pretty much anyone.
Right. So, and like, I've kind of softened on the rules. I mean, if you want to pick a pie in the sky person, that's fine. Aaron Rodgers, I don't even know how to get a hold of his agent, but, cause that's always the first one. Right. But, outside of, and I hate ranking people because I don't think he's better than anybody that I've had on, much less anybody that I probably will have on.
Yeah.
He's got one thing that's interesting about him,
Yeah.
and he's a pretty interesting guy as far as football players go. But, most football players, they have one thing
Yeah.
And like, I'm not going to talk football with them for an hour, right? So, yeah. So who do you think?
And honestly, I was just over at the Camera Corner store, saw a drone, and immediately I thought of Chris Knight, SparkNet.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think of area entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
he stands out in my mind. And you talk about someone who could have, by any right, have a huge ego. He just does not. No. Easy to talk to. He knows his stuff.
He's good. He's a good dude. He gave me his old TiVos.
Really?
Yeah. Which is great.
Chris would be my first choice out of the like the tech world. Otherwise, out of the music side, Chris Dame, who's actually the lead guitarist for Johnny Wadd, and some of their local bands, is amazing to talk to.
So I'm gonna start pushing back on my guests. You're the first victim on this. Get in touch with them,
okay,
and bring them in. And especially because I would like you to guest host then.
Yeah, that'd be
so
fun.
I'd like to keep my promises on some of that stuff. And I feel like that's a good way to make sure that happens. Because I will tell you, the hardest part about this is not talking, not being prepared. And I kind of suck at being prepared, but I'm getting better. And the hard part is scheduling busy people.
Yeah.
It tends to be if they're decent, they're hard to schedule.
Yeah.
So any help I can get in that regard is huge. I'm going to try to build something into the website to have people kind of schedule themselves, but even that is more complicated than it sounds like it would be, right? So that'll take me some time. So you got the track
I
that
do.
we're going to play. We can kind of close out. Yeah. So what's this last track going to be called?
This is Say What You Will. This was the first single off of Red Light Saints EP.
So before Nick gets into that, so how are you affiliated with the band at all?
Luke Heckel, the drummer, is from the Marinette Menominee area.
Okay.
I've known him for many years.
Nice.
He hates it if you ever say it, but he's sincerely the nicest guy
Really?
I ever known, honestly.
Well, that's high praise coming from you. Thank you very much. My hands are dry now. You did great. Thank you, Don Nelson.
Thank you.
You're amazing.
Pleasure.